Hey everyone, welcome to Almost Cancelled Extra, the monthly or bi-monthly exclusive Patreon show at the $1 tier. Alternates with the 121 movie one. You know what? You know why you're here. This is a show that you're a patron already. You're fine.
You're paying for it. You know what it is.
I can never have a good intro for these ones. I don't know what I'm doing, but yeah. So we talk about a topic. This almost cancelled extra specifically is a TV topic of some kind, and obviously we've done some kind of industry style ones the last couple of episodes. We were thinking what to do. We'd consider doing a horror, themed one, but we just did that with 121. We didn't want to do the same thing, even though it makes sense because it's October. We'll do that next year maybe. What we landed on was something a bit more fun, is we're just going to reminisce. There's no rhyme or reason to this conversation. We're going to reminisce about what we watched as kids. So this is going to be about kids' TV, specifically the kids' TV that we consumed as youngsters. And it's going to be a fun one because it's something that everyone can join in on. So be sure in the comments to tell us about the kids' TV shows that you watched growing up.
And we are gonna make you feel old.
We'll probably make you feel old. That is true. Unless you're younger than us, in which case you're going to.
You'll be like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah, you're going to make us feel old when you tell us what the hell is this crap. I've never heard of any of it.
Yeah.
So
I just assume you're all old.
yes, I assume. I think our demographics on YouTube suggest that our biggest audience range is 25 to 34, which is our range for both of us. We're both in that demographic, so fair enough.
Yeah, makes sense, doesn't it?
But there are some people apparently in their 60s who watch us, and there's partly some people that are teenagers, which makes sense. I could see me watching stuff like this when I was a teenager. Had it been as developed at the time. YouTube was just starting when I was a teenager. See, we're old. We're old.
Yeah, yeah. we remember pre-YouTube, the dark days.
I do. I remember VHS. I remember audio cassettes.
I heard while I was away last week, YouTube went down for like a morning, and everyone lost their shit.
Yeah.
What happened?
Funnily enough, I never experienced this. I was surprised when I saw the headline. Apparently, it happened when I was asleep, so it didn't matter. Didn't care.
I got back and it was like I saw headlines like about that YouTube outage. I was like, "Oh, what happened?" It was like apparently it was down, down for hours. People lost their shit.
So yeah, so talk about kids TV, and I mean, I suppose you sort of divvy this into categories. You can divvy this into your cartoons, your live action, things that maybe kind of hold up in your memory, stuff that is just, you watched it as a kid because it was stuff you watched as a kid, but it's just not like it actually had any effect. Because I think some of the obvious stuff for us is like Batman the animated series. I imagine is a big thing on both of our lists, which is still very much relevant. It's still something that we would happily watch today.
Something that we will watch in the near future.
This is true. This is true. I'm just clicking it.
Because I have the Blu-ray pre-ordered, and they keep pushing it back like a week every so often. They just go, "We're delaying it a week," and it's happened like 2 or 3 times now, and it's making me edgy.
I was just clicking in a different tab because I had my tweet deck up and I kept being distracted because every so often someone posts a GIF and every time it was just kind of catching my eye and the movement was distracting. I thought I can multitask.
Such an unprofessional bastard.
Well, no, me choosing to get rid of it was a professional choice.
Yeah, but it was unprofessional that you had it up in the first place.
I thought I could multitask. I thought I could.
Well, be more professional.
He says as he takes a shot.
It's not a shot.
So
That is a fine glass of whiskey.
it's a little glass. It's basically a shot as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but it's only a shot if you shot it, and you have a shot glass. This is neither.
Be a proper alcoholic and take a shot of a pint.
A shot of a pint, Jesus. That's a terrifying thought. Look, I've necked the pint or two in my time. Don't get me wrong, but the idea of trying to shot a pint.
Yeah, for those who don't know, if you've never heard me talk about this before, I don't drink alcohol, and I never have. I've never been drunk. I've never had a shot, never had a beer, never had any of these things. So this is all alien to me for the most part.
Yes, and I have had
Enough
much
to make up
everything.
for the fact that I've never had any. Yes.
Well, one of us has to.
So yeah, so Batman the Animated Series is an obvious one. It just given all the comic book stuff we do, it's obvious to mention that one first, and
Yeah,
it's
Get out of the way.
in many ways it's kind of like maybe the seed that became our love of Batman and comic books and comic book characters and so on.
Yeah, I don't know if it was my first exposure to Batman. I might have seen the Burton movies before I saw the animated series. Yeah, look, I'm not saying they're better. I'm saying I might have seen them first.
Do you know, I had to put thought into that before I did it because I was like, I want this to sound like an authentic spit, but I don't actually want to spit on my floor. For obvious reasons.
Yeah. But what I was getting at is, even if I did see the Burton movies first, clearly animated series is where the idea of Batman kind of took hold.
Yeah.
And became a thing in my brain.
Yeah, a lot, because I think that's where we probably learned about most of the villains, because those movies only had a couple of villains in them, really. I mean, I remember seeing like Forever and Robin at the cinema when I was a kid, but like, you know, by the time I saw them, I knew who the Riddler was already, and I knew that because of the animated series.
Yeah,
it's not like I was reading comics. I knew who Two-Face was again because of the animated series. So
Two-Face's introductory episodes, I think it's a two-parter, is fantastic.
It is very good. Heart of Ice, of course, great episode. Almost Gotham's a classic. There's a bunch. There's so many classics.
What a great show!
Fantastic.
I can't wait to rewatch it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to rewatching it on the off-season stuff. For television from the multiverse, that'll be a fun Christmas and summer project. But multiple Christmas and summers. I mean, we're not going to get through. Even if we're doing 2 at a time, we're still going to be taking a while. But
about a season a year, I imagine.
Yeah, season. Although volume, I think, is maybe more accurate to say.
It is.
Because that's not how they were split up on TV. It was more of a weird thing where season 1 had like 80 episodes and then season 2 had like...
Well, that's because that's how kids' cartoons are ordered, isn't it? It's like, here, you get 80 episodes and then another 60 or another 50 or whatever.
That's just a weird system, is what I'm saying.
It is. It's a very different system to everywhere else in TV.
Cat, what are you doing? Firefly, behave yourself.
See, unprofessional.
Control. No, this is him being unprofessional, not me.
Hey, it's your cat, your responsibility.
I've got scissors, I'm going to poke him. I'm going to prod him. Down. Right, there he goes. So, where was it? Yes, Batman. But no, very good. But you know, I think, you know what, you hear us talk about Batman. You're going to hear us talk about Batman animated series. If you watch television for the multiverse, listen to that show. You're going to hear us talk about that ad nauseum for a long time. I think what's more interesting here is talk about other things. Now, I'm going to start with probably the biggest obsession of my childhood, outside of, arguably bigger than Batman when I was at the age. I mean, not anymore, obviously. But when I was a kid, Power Rangers was the big thing.
Oh, yeah.
That was the obsession. I had toys for several years of the show.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can still, obviously I don't have them anymore, but I can picture all the various toys that I did have, all the different Zords, you know, the great ones that click together to be
I kind of wish I'd kept them. I kind of wish I could just every so often when I'm feeling nostalgic pull out the Megazord and just put it together, you know, and I can't because it's
I'm with you.
Long gone. It's been gone since I was like 11 or something. I don't know what age I was when.
Do you know, I think while we're on this kind of area, what is notable as an omission for both of us, as far as I'm aware, for the most part at least, Transformers.
This is true. Transformers was kind of just before our time. And
yeah,
it was like right in the precipice where I knew other kids who happened to have a couple of Transformers toys because, you know, someone had bought them for them because it was a big thing just before. But I never had any myself, and I never saw much of the cartoon growing up.
The odd episode here or there, but it was never something that I was into in the same way that some of the other stuff that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, but Power Rangers are a huge thing, and it was definitely the first big obsession. It was not only just because of toys. I remember, you know, Kimberly Hart was the first crush.
Of course.
Which I basically give that the reason as to why I mean I like many different types of lady, but I'd always say brunettes are kind of my type. And I think that's because of Kimberly from Power Rangers. I think that's where that taste was established.
It's fair to say that for many a man our age,
yes,
that was probably the first crush, right?
High probability. Depends what other stuff you were watching, I suppose. But
yeah, it's not exclusively. But if someone of our age said that, I wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah, you're not surprised at it, no.
No.
But I think obviously you had the fight of the big monsters, you had your Zords, you had your combat, but you had teenage characters, which, you know, if you watch it now, it's ridiculous. And Uh, the dialogue is ridiculous if you try it now, but it had something when you were a kid, and I have vivid memories of like I didn't understand at the time what a season of TV was. I didn't understand any of these things, but looking back and looking at like season lists and where things fell, it suddenly became clear looking back. Oh, that's why that felt like a big episode because that was the season premiere of season 2, or that's why that felt like a big deal because that was this
Yeah,
section.
no, I get it. Like there are certain episodes that stick in your head. Like for me, the arc of introducing the Green Ranger.
Oh yeah, the candle, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there are specific scenes like where he first is fighting the putties outside by the dumpsters before he knows what's going on. Tommy, that is.
Yes.
I'm like, that is vividly in my mind.
I remember being in the dark, smoky room with Goldar and the candle there and all that stuff. Just visuals.
The prison thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember specifically, like, he was kind of an on again, off again kind of aide after that. And
yeah.
I remember whenever his powers are kind of draining, but everyone else gets their coin stolen in Parent Teacher Night. It was a 2-parter. And he's the only one with a coin, so he has to single-handedly take on Goldar. And if he wasn't everyone's favourite before then, that was kind of what solidified him as this, the one that everyone liked the most, because he was kind of special to bring in. And you were kind of rooting for him. So you had this weird thing. And actually, thinking back, I'm trying to think how they handled some of the early Season 2 stuff, because he didn't become the White Ranger till midway through the second season, right? Because they all got the Thunder Zords in the second season. But he was still the Green Ranger at first, and they still had the Dragon Zord, and he can help for a bit, but his power's going to keep fading. So I'm trying to remember, because obviously all the footage of the Zords was all stock footage from the Japanese show, and they were switching Zords and costumes up every season. So I'm trying to think how they handled the Dragon Zord being there with the other... Unless that was just part of the plot in the other one as well, is that was still around for a while.
I don't know. Honestly, I can't remember. It was either it was still around, or what might be the case, because I do remember... It was always
separate. It was never in the same
separate.
scene. Yeah.
So they were kind of just splicing the two things together.
I could see that being the case. But
some clever editing.
I don't think the editing was that clever. I think it was very blatant and obvious. It was just you were a kid, so it
clever
it worked.
To a kid.
Yes.
Clever enough is the point.
And the weird thing where it kind of repeated the how they got their ninja stuff in the movie, because that wasn't in continuity when the movie came out. So the start of season 3 is kind of that again.
I unashamedly love that movie. Even though it's, I mean, you can go watch the Influx that we did on it last year when the new movie was coming out, and I wouldn't say it holds up, but I love it anyway.
Oh, yeah, I still love it as well. Yeah.
Ivan Ooze is one of the greatest villains of all time. It's just a fact.
Yes. Thanos ain't got nothing, and Ivan Ooze.
Yeah. Hey, if I'm going for purple guys, I know where I'm going.
We're in trouble. Someone's come along and the burst our bubble. The hit song, which was on the film.
Yep.
From the girl pop band that I can't remember the name of.
Me either. But so memorable.
Yes. But that's good. But I think it wasn't just... I mean, Power Rangers was the big thing in the middle. That was the one that I cared about the most. But that kind of splintered off into the other similar knockoff shows. The other Saban shows. Some of them weren't Saban as well, but... you had Big Bad Beetleborgs, which was not Saban, but that had like the 3 characters. There was almost like a Joker-esque, like they're like Alpha / Zordon kind of guy. It was almost like the Joker from what I remember. It was just sort of like comical character.
I never really got into any of the other knockoffs as much. I kind of watched a few bits here or there, but I was never into them.
Yeah, because I had the toys for them, and they had like it was like vehicles they had, the Borgs, but. Masked Rider was actually a spin-off. They actually put a backdoor like spin-off pilot into Power Rangers. There was an episode where they actually went to his home planet and saved them, and then he had his own show. And I liked that one probably the most after Power Rangers, probably because it had a really good theme tune. Which so did Power Rangers actually. Power Rangers had a great theme tune, but Masked Rider had a great one. And I remember he had a talking car and a talking bike. And he was a lot more traditional superhero, and he had a secret identity. And he, so did Power Rangers, but it was more, he had his secret family he was adopted by, and he would
Right.
become the Masked Rider when people needed help, and he had his like talking car and bike that would help him. I had those toys. I remember that. And then the other one that I watched, which was probably the closest to Power Rangers, which was Saban, was VR Troopers. But everything in VR Troopers took place in virtual reality. Like, it'd be in the real world, and they'd have like a dojo where they'd help, but then there would be this virtual world where the fights had to happen, so they'd jack in, and they'd become...
It's just not as cool inherently.
It's not as cool inherently, but it was still cool. It also had a very memorable theme song, although not as good as the others, but memorable.
No, it's not as good as the others.
But memorable all the same. But I remember having fun. It was different types of things. It was lacking the vehicles or Zords or the equivalent of whatever. Like, I didn't have that in any capacity. Yeah. Not really. I mean, they may have had bikes, but it was just like they had bikes. That was it. It wasn't.
It's not that cool, is it?
Masked Riders talked. Power Rangers all transformed and came together. Beetleborgs had their weird Beetleborgs.
Closing the name.
Yeah, but it was a whole thing. Like, you didn't have anything, and I think that's all the ones I watched of that kin. I want to say.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other ones, but
they're the only ones that I really remember being a big thing.
Yeah, I don't recall any other ones, but and it was funny because it was a kind of a transitional period, I think, where I started to watch things where they were kind of more like sitcoms, but they weren't quite adult sitcoms. Like, I watched a lot of Nickelodeon, and I remember like Sabrina.
Yeah, okay.
Was on, right, and that was like, it was like half hour comedy, but but obviously it wasn't like an adult comedy either. It was.
Yeah, Nickelodeon was something I never really watched anything from.
Really,
which is kind of weird. Yeah.
So you never watched Kenan and Kel? You never watched?
I've obviously I know what all these are. I've seen little bits here or there over the years, but I don't think there's a single Nickelodeon show that I would say I watched that.
Was Are You Afraid of the Dark in Nickelodeon, or was that something else?
My thanks. I never really watched that one.
It probably was then, because I mean, basically growing up, I remember like it was Saturday morning cartoons, and just whenever the regular TV or stuff, and then when I finally got cable, it was like, okay, here's Cartoon Network, here's Fox Kids, here's Nickelodeon, here's the biggies, Disney Channel.
Yeah, I think what it is because my family was relatively poor. We didn't have cable for a long time, so I used to go to my grandparents' house, and that's where they had cable, and that's where I would watch Cartoon Network. So I'd get it like once a week, and that was it. So I would make the most of it for that day, and I was like, right, this is what I'm watching.
Yeah, I'm sitting down and doing nothing but watching stuff because this is what's happening.
Yeah, screw the grandparents. I'm watching. You've got the good TV, so this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
that was it for a good few years, and obviously by the time we then got Sky at the time, I didn't have any desire to go over to Nickelodeon. I didn't have any attachment to any of the shows that were on it, so I never branched out over there.
No, I was basically because I remember I think at first I just stuck to Cartoon Network, and then I gradually like, okay, now I'll try watching more of the other ones for a while.
I think if I was getting it more than one day a week, I probably would have done.
Yeah.
But I was just like, no, I'm making the most of my day. Cartoon Network.
And yeah, so I think Sabrina was on Sister was on Nickelodeon. That came up in the news recently, actually, because one of the actresses that was on Nickelodeon. Yeah, it was like a lot of like kiddie sitcoms were on Nickelodeon. Fox Kids was your Power Rangers and your Beetleborgs and all that stuff. Cartoon Network was your cartoons, obviously, and then Disney Channel was kind of this weird thing. That would show movies, obviously, and it would show cartoons, Disney related ones, and but it'd have like a mix of some of the sitcoms because there was Smart Guy. I think that's what it was called on Disney Channel, and the idea was it was the family, but the kid who was like 10 was like doing like high level high school classes because he was that smart, and that was the premise.
Right. Okay.
But there was stuff on that I would describe as kid hour long shows that were kind of like aged up a little bit, but still kind of in your preteen levels.
Sure.
Like the Honey I Shrunk the Kids TV show, which I remember enjoying and having fun. And there was a show that was on after that called So Weird, which was kind of like X-Files, but for someone of that age.
Okay.
It was this teen girl who... I can't remember why they were on tour. It wasn't like they were in a band or anything like that. It was like her mum's job or whatever had them going around in an RV around the country. But whenever they stopped in a town, her and her brother would like investigate a paranormal thing or whatever. But it was a fun show at the time. I mean, I don't know if it actually holds up, but...
Yeah. Joe, I'm just trying to... Because obviously I've not thought about this in a long time.
Yes.
And things that are just kind of coming to mind. You mentioned the kids sitcom sort of thing.
Yeah.
And one that's just popped into my head is My Parents Are Aliens.
Never watched it.
Basically, it was like, three adopted kids,
Never watched
two
it. Yeah.
aliens that could shapeshift with the parents. And it was kind of all the jokes were they don't really know what it is to be human. They don't know about, normal
Sure.
society. And so
It's still
was
Rock from the
fish out of
Sun, but
water.
for kids.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
It was all that stuff. Again, I remember it being very enjoyable. I don't know how it holds up.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not. Most things probably don't, but there's charming places where you could find them. I think if you wanted, go down that path, like I'm trying to think if there was anything else, in the kids sitcom level. I'm sure Nickelodeon probably had a few. Or they had Two of a Kind, which that was one of those ones where I feel like I saw that a lot as a kid. But when I was like just looking through kids shows that I'd seen, the one, because there was a point where like I realized I could look up all these shows that I used to watch and actually see like how many seasons they had. Now that I understand TV, that I just spent a night looking up a bunch of things.
Yeah.
And that only had one season. It got cancelled after one season.
Repeated.
But it was repeated so often that I assumed there was like 10 seasons of the bloody thing.
I'm not familiar with that one.
It's
But,
the
I mean,
Olsen
they only had
twins.
one season. So. Okay.
The Olsen twins, and they had like a hot babysitter, and the dad was single, and there was like they won't they with the hot babysitter. Well, I say babysitter, it was more like she was like college age student who was like doing this as like a part time job to like pay for
Right,
college,
okay.
so she wasn't like super young,
So
but
it's not creepy.
it wasn't creepy aged. I mean, he was still older, but it wasn't.
Wasn't super creepy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's kind of what led me in a weird way to like Comedy Central, where I sort of transitioned from the kids sitcoms to like your Frasier and your Cheers and Spin City and Just Shoot Me and whatever else was on at the time, the 90s sitcoms of the era. But so I kind of transitioned through that in a weird way away from it. So I did kind of have this weird time where I kind of graduated over and left behind things. But we've not really talked about cartoons much. And Cartoon Network, there is Cartoon Network shows that I remember watching at the time, like Dexter's Lab, Ed, Edd and Eddy,
That block.
Johnny Bravo was one.
Yeah.
But I never really get that into any of those. I was never like I watched a fair bit of them, but I was never attached to them. Cat Dog, that was one, right?
Cat Dog was one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say I wasn't. Johnny Bravo is the one there that I watched a fair bit of, but I was never super into. Dexter's Lab, I definitely was.
Do you know what I think it was? I think by the time I had Cartoon Network, I wasn't old, but I was getting a little bit older where the other stuff was appealing to me more. But what I really liked in Cartoon Network was the stuff that I was already liking, and that was Scooby-Doo, and it was Wacky Race. It was all the Hanna-Barbera stuff, and it was the classic stuff, which eventually is what became Boomerang. I remember when I didn't have cable or satellite for a while, and then I got it back, and they'd added Boomerang, and nothing was on Cartoon Network anymore that I liked. I was like, oh, and this was when I was a bit older, but I still, I was like a teenager, but I still wanted to put on Scooby-Doo if it was on. I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll put Scooby-Doo on.
Yeah.
Whatever, I'll put it on.
Hey, I'd still do that now.
Because Boomerang used to do the marathons where it'd be like Scooby-Doo non-stop for like 3 days. I'm like, yeah, I'm putting Scooby-Doo on for 3 days while I do other things.
I have, on the topic of Scooby-Doo, I have extremely fond memories of playing one of the games on the PS2. I couldn't tell you what it was called off the top. It's one of those, if I saw a list of the titles, I'd know it.
Sure,
and
yeah.
It was just, you went around a haunted house out by the sea or the lake or whatever.
Hey,
It was fantastic. I don't. It probably wasn't that great a game.
Yeah.
But I loved.
No, I love Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo was maybe my. I mean, obviously Batman Nemesis is better, but I think as a kid, that might have been my favorite cartoon as a kid.
That's fair.
Which is funny because I often associate my love of horror with Terminator, and I think that's true because I was watching Terminator at a very early age, like probably much younger than I should have been. But I wonder if Scooby-Doo also kind of added to that. Like that's why I like horror stuff, because Scooby-Doo is kind of like kids horror.
It is, and alongside that, I had things like Inspector Gadget and Pink Panther and Top Cat.
Yeah, I like Top Cat. I saw the odd Inspector Gadget or Pink Panther, but not a ton of it, I don't think.
Okay.
And obviously there was the your Bugs Bunny and your Daffy Ducks and all that.
Of course.
Which I saw a fair amount of. Tom and Jerry was a big staple.
Tom and Jerry, out of like those groupings, the ones that were the big ones for me were Tom and Jerry and Roadrunner.
Sure, I saw a fair bit of Roadrunner.
Yeah, those were my big ones. But I mean, I saw enough of all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So that was basically Cartoon Network for me.
Yeah. Well, I think obviously I'm a little bit younger than you. I saw a bit past that.
Hmm.
Like we're talking about the Ed and Eddie and Dexter's Lab, that block. I think I went slightly past that. I got into what I would say is the best horror thing that I saw that wasn't Scooby Doo was Courage the Cowardly Dog, and I stand by it as being
I've
fantastic.
literally never heard of this.
It was a little, I want to say, it's a little purple dog, and it was on this this farm. It's this one farmhouse in the middle of nowhere, and it's haunted basically, or he thinks it's haunted. I don't really remember that vividly, and I remember having an amazing theme, this creepy thing, and it definitely played up some of the horror stuff a lot for most of it, and that was pretty good. And then you had things like I want to say it was called Grim and Mandy or something like that. Two kids with a Grim Reaper.
Hmm.
Um, there was a house full of the imaginary friends that was kind of played like a bit of a sitcom. It's all these literally just imaginary friends just doing crazy shit. And then there was one I will never be able to tell you the name of. Like, not if you paid me £1 million. It was a kid, and he had like a robot that was made out of cubes, like big cubes, not little cubes.
Hmm.
And it would like transform a little bit. But it was like this big cubey robot, and like literally it was a big, like, I want to say it was like a white robot. It's distinctly made out of cubes, and it would like come packed up. And I have no idea what it was called. I couldn't find it if I
No,
tried.
this is. Do you know what, it was a transitional thing actually, where it was kind of coming into being popular just as I was getting out of cartoons. Was SpongeBob. I am of a slightly too older generation to appreciate SpongeBob. I thought it was stupid.
See, I am on the age where I have two younger brothers, so I saw a lot of kids' cartoons and stuff after my time. Even when I wasn't like, okay, I don't want to watch this anymore, but it's his turn at breakfast. He gets to put whatever he wants on the TV. So I've seen considerably past because my youngest brother is, 7 or 8 years younger than me. I'm not going to work it out now. I don't know off the top of my head. So considerably past my time. So I saw a lot of SpongeBob almost at that age where I probably wouldn't have done if it was just me. But I appreciate. I think it was actually almost far enough in by the time I was seeing it still, because obviously it still, I assume it's still going, or it was going for a long time, that I started to get the clever jokes that were in it. So I appreciate it a bit more.
That's fair. Yeah, for me when it was starting to become big, I wasn't into it.
Yeah, I wasn't that early into it. It was a bit later. I think it was probably my youngest brother watching it. And you got like Squidward being the shop, the store owner or the restaurant owner, whatever he is, and being just this miserable bastard who hates everyone. And I'm like, yes, I can relate to this guy.
So I mean, yeah. So it's not so much that I transitioned from cartoons to the live action stuff. They definitely overlapped a lot.
Oh yeah.
But I wonder if I just went through like periods where I was in the mood for one or the other, and that's why I would be on Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or Disney or Fox Kids. I feel like Fox Kids is the one that and like Power Rangers and all that stuff is the one that I hard abandoned at a certain age, like maybe around 8 or 9, where I hard quit that stuff for some reason.
Yeah. See, this thing for me, because like I said, I had Cartoon Network one day a week, and that went on for a long time.
Yeah.
So there was, but it wasn't like I was watching loads of TV at home. I think I was watching more just movies at home, and then it was when my other brothers, we had Sky by the time they were watching the stuff. So I actually saw a lot more of their TV than mine at home, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, getting the channels was such a big deal. I also remember switching from Cartoon Network having like a limit, and then like it going 24 hours. Like I remember, like, because I was a kid who stayed up late. Like I just was. Because I think when before it went 24 hours, it finished at 9 p.m. Like all the kids channels finished like
I think it was 10. Cartoon Network.
Maybe been 10, but I know Nickelodeon.
Most of them, yeah, 8. It was 8, 9, or 10, depending on which one you were on.
Well, no, Nickelodeon was 7, and the reason why I remember that is because it became trouble at 7 back when they shared a slot. when I was a kid.
Right.
And because it was back when it was just satellite at first, and they had only so many like streams, so they had to
Yeah.
a lot of things shared. Oh no, wait, no, it wasn't that. Because Trouble became Bravo. Hold on, what did Nickelodeon become? That's going to bug me. But it became a different, like the adult version of the network at the night.
Right. Okay.
Actually, no, it was the Comedy Channel. It was Comedy Central or Paramount Comedies. It was called at the time.
Which is why you transitioned through.
Which
presumably, 'cause you just left it on.
I just left it on. But eventually everything went 24 hours. But Cartoon Network was the first one to do it out of the kids' channels. And that was a big deal. Now, admittedly, once it hit about 2 a.m., it was all shit that was on anyway. But until then, it was just
I
nice.
feel like it was 2 a.m. when I was watching Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I have distinct memories of watching that one late at night. I'm gonna have to look up. I need to know if he was purple or not, because it's gonna bug me.
Oh my god! And I'm getting. I went to Twitter because I was getting a lot of notifications that said, "Guys, shut up! I'm trying to record a show. Stop replying to this thread." And then Talking Superman's like, "I want a shout out on the show," and I'm like, "You don't listen to this show. It's not a comic show."
He was purple. This is it. Yeah, an animated horror comedy. Yeah. Thrown into bizarre misadventures, often involving the paranormal or supernatural. Series is known for its dark, surreal humor and atmosphere.
What I've not mentioned. Oh, you're finished. So go on.
Oh no, it's fine. That was the end of the sentence.
What I've not mentioned yet. Speaking of like kids horror stuff, I watched a lot of Are You Afraid of the Dark, which I think was Nickelodeon as well. Which is where the kids, like, it was a horror anthology show, but it was the framing device was the kids got together at midnight around a campfire, and one of them told a story.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Just trying to... Yeah, Nickelodeon, which is why I never really watched it.
Yeah. But I remember it feeling like a big deal. I remember the first time I noticed there being like a new season of something advertised was Sabrina, and it felt like a big change because it was the one where she went off to college. So the show was kind of changing its, not its premise, but like its locations were kind of changing, and I remember them making a big deal about it and advertising it, and it had a completely new intro thing.
Yeah.
So nah, it's weird because actually that was what it is. When the mood struck me at some point, I was like, oh, I wonder if I get nostalgic if I watch the old Sabrina opening titles, right? Only to find like a video that had all 7 of them over for the seasons, and they changed every season.
Right.
And as they were, I'd never seen the last couple of seasons, so I never actually recognized those ones. But
right.
I was like,
you were going, oh my god, this one every time.
Yeah, like I remember the first one. I was like, yeah, this was this intro. Yeah, of course it was. And then I got to like this third season. There was like one that she was in a bubble, and it was like bubbles going up with the different actors in it. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember this one. And then when she went to college, it turned into her like dancing through the street. Now she's off and out in the world, but her cat's still there. Salem is still along for the ride, just for the record.
See, I'm really glad I clicked on that wiki page because it's reminding me of stuff.
Oh god.
Because at the bottom it was showing me DVD, where some of the episodes were, and one of them, the episodes for Courage the Cowardly Dog, for some reason, was on a DVD for Powerpuff Girls.
Never watched that.
Which is something I did watch. For whatever reason, it was presumably because it was on, and I was just go on then. And I remember loving that show. Like the three basically just superhero kids.
I've got a list up. Did you ever watch? Because I did. Animorphs.
The name's familiar. Remind me.
It was kids. There was like 5 kids who got powers to turn into animals, and I think they each had one specific animal.
Yeah.
And notably, one of them was one of the twins. I don't know which. I can never tell which one. One of the Ashmores was one of them.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's one. We've been focusing mainly on US stuff. I don't have a lot of British stuff to really talk about. The big one, of course, being Chucklevision, which is like,
of course,
was like
a genuine staple of British TV.
In fact, it's
decades.
Star Two Brothers, Paul and Barry. That's not their real names, of course, but in the show they're Paul and Barry Chuckle, and that was their stage names. I actually went to see a live show of them when I was a kid.
Oh, did you?
When I was really young. But it was that's just them getting into hijinks, and the plot of every episode was basically they're trying a new job, and how they mess up said new job. That was the thing. And
and they're a comedy act anyway, but they have some older brothers, those two, in real life, who are also a comedy duo act.
Yeah, I think they guest starred a lot as the other minor characters.
The guy who was always no slacking.
Oh yeah,
Well,
vaguely.
yeah, yeah, and he's always the guy who gave him the job, and he goes, "Oh, and remember, no slacking."
Yeah, but it's funny because
In the thick Rotherham accent.
thinking of seasons again with that one, like I remember like the early seasons that I had taped on VHS. They had the big, I don't even know what you call it, like a car that was actually like it was pedal. It was like it was a
Oh, yeah, okay,
it was
I'm
a
with you.
you know it was like a four-seater where the two people at the front would actually pedal to move it. But
Yeah,
it was like a whole frame that made a car.
yeah, kind of like a golf cart esque.
Kinda. I don't even. Yeah, I don't even.
Yeah, it's hard to describe.
Just a cart is what I'd call it.
This is something for the Americans. I'm sorry, because
But like I remember
probably
they
don't know
had
anything
that,
about it.
and then there was a season where they bought this building, and everything they tried to do that season was out of that building. And I remember that the first episode is they're installing a security system, and Paul, to test it, dresses up in a black and white striped, burglar's
I
outfit,
remember this.
and
Yeah,
a policeman shows up and tries to arrest them. And
yeah.
there's one where they try to put on like a singing show in the same season. There was
I
one,
remember the one where they accidentally rob a diamond.
yeah, they tried to build a rocket ship because that's what people do. They just randomly decide to build, and
Yeah,
they think they're on another planet, but they're just like down the street at like a field.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
This is such a staple of anyone from not even just like within a few years, within like a good decade, 15
yeah,
years
yeah.
of our age,
They-
you can say to me, and
to
they
you,
will reply with exactly
to me,
every
that's
time.
what they said when they're carrying stuff. Oh, the other one that you can say from that show is, oh dear, oh dear, oh
Oh
dear,
dear.
oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Um, all the classics that were from before that I had on VHS, so I saw them a lot. Was the one where they're painters and they mess up so bad they have to paint over, like they get some paint on a table, so they just paint the whole table, and hope
Yeah.
they won't notice, and then they eventually have to paint everything in the room. And then the other one I always remember is where there's like a spy following someone, so they dress up as spies, and there's a joke about shepherd's pie,
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm with you.
and then in a park. It was just all these
Yeah.
weird, like I remember like these memories of all these episodes. Um, this brings back nostalgia, but yeah, it's one that I have to mention. There's not a lot of British ones that I really care about growing up, really. The only other thing I watched a lot as a kid, which was not a scripted show, was Art Attack, which was
Oh, yeah,
a show where the presenter would basically just show you how to do arts and crafts projects, but it would be it'd be cut up and it'd do like weird little things, and
yeah.
it was a thing at the time. I don't know.
Yeah, no, again, for the British ones, I saw a lot of the stuff that was slightly after me. Things it was not like, because the channel had like CBBC, like children's BBC. There was like an intermediate one. I can't remember what it was called. Or maybe it was just that channel that at a certain time played slightly older ones than just the kids' cartoons. And you had things like Tracy Beaker on it that my younger brother watched quite a lot.
News to
Don't
me.
know if you're familiar with that one.
Hey, did you ever watch Dinosaurs?
Dinosaurs.
It was like people in suits and they were like a dinosaur family.
No, I never saw that one.
Never saw that. No, I did watch that. I don't know. I always remember thinking that was actually for an older audience when I was a kid. I might not feel that way when I watch it now, but I remember thinking that felt like it was kind of silly, but it was maybe like more of just a traditional family sitcom. They just all happened to be dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I remember an episode where the dad feels awkward because in this show what they like about the female dinosaurs is the tail. That's what they talk about. Oh, look at the tail on her. That's the thing. And his daughter's tail grows big because she's a teenager and she has the sprout, the growth spurt.
Sure.
And he's annoyed because all of his male friends will say, "Oh, your daughter's got a big tail on her now," and he's really upset about it. So it was tackling things that felt a bit
I get
older,
it.
but
I think I watched a lot of, again, in the non-scripted things, the kids game shows. Like you had Way of the
sure.
Warrior,
no, I never watched. I've never even heard of that.
where it's a Scottish guy who is like one of those challenge shows. Now you've got what's the one you get now? Oh God, I had Richard Hammond as the host for a while. Oh, okay, fine. I thought you might have my back on that one. An adult's version of this that was from the last few years, like decade.
Oh, you
But,
mean the
okay.
Crystal Maze?
No, not the Crystal Maze. But I mean, maybe more along that line. And then there was another one that was like a jungle-based one. Like there was a temple in the jungle, like with a Monkey King. And you had to go in. You did puzzle rooms basically. That's what it was. It was kids that go in and here's a puzzle, here's a time limit, or like, okay, here's a lake, swim across, find the things. Those sorts of challenges. I watched quite a few of those.
Oh, actually, I mean, it's weird that we don't mention Saved by the Bell because I did see a lot of that. Actually,
Yeah.
It was actually before my time, really, but it was still on so much that I did see a ton of it.
I saw the odd bit.
Here's one that I can't believe I've not mentioned yet. Actually, it was The Secret World of Alex Mack. I don't know if you ever
Okay.
saw this.
I saw a bit. It wasn't huge for me.
It was a big thing. I had a big crush on the main girl, which is basically why I remember it so
That
fondly.
explains it.
And I actually watched 10 Things I Hate About You just because she was in that. That was why I watched that movie. And she was in Third Rock from the Sun. She was Levitt's girlfriend in that, who's also in 10 Things, funnily enough.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I had a crush on her at the time, and I thought it was cool because she had this power because it was basically a superhero show. She got powers from like an accident,
Yeah.
and one of the powers was that she could turn into a puddle, and I was like, this is basically the T-1000. She's got T-1000 powers, and I'm sure the visual effect is terrible. I've not seen it as an adult,
Almost certainly.
but I'm sure it's absolute garbage.
As a kid, it was magical. I'm sure.
Yes, it was. Oh, that's that So Weird show that I was talking about from Disney.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember the mum being so attractive. Oh my! Clearly, I was too young to appreciate the finer things in life at the time.
Do you know what? I haven't mentioned yet. That was a huge thing for me when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I think it was at the time shown on Cartoon Network, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah.
Was Dragon Ball, and specifically Dragon Ball Z.
Oh God, no.
I know you have that reaction, but I have distinct of maybe it can't have been Cartoon Network because it was when I was in my first house. I moved house when I was maybe 5 or 6,
Mm-hmm.
and I have distinct memories of it being Pancake Day, and sitting there with a stack of pancakes watching Dragon Ball Z in my my earliest house, and yeah, that's I have like maybe 4 or 5 memories total in that house, like distinct memories, and it's weird that that's one of them. And it's weird that I kind of forgot how into Dragon Ball Z I was in this conversation until that's just popped into my head.
Joe's actually amazing that I've not mentioned yet is Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Of course,
because that was a huge part of my childhood. That was, I mean, basically, if you ask me what my Triforce, if you will, of my childhood was, it was Batman, Power Rangers, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
No question.
Those are all up there.
No question.
Do you know what's funny? That again, we're now DC guys. I know you're wearing a filthy Avengers shirt. I can see it. But
yeah, I didn't buy it though. Someone gave me it as a birthday present.
fine. You chose to wear it. The point is,
it's a comfy shirt.
we're both DC guys. We're talking about how Batman clearly had a formative impact on us. I assume, because I know I wasn't. You were never that big on X-Men.
I wasn't not big on X-Men. I just never seen it.
Did you not at all?
I literally never saw the X-Men or Spider-Man cartoons when I was growing up. The first time I ever saw a Spider-Man or X-Men thing of any kind was the movies. It was X-Men in 2000 and Spider-Man in 2002. And I knew who Spider-Man was. Like I'd at least heard of him, but I don't know where or how.
Yeah. No, I remember watching a handful of episodes of each of those shows. But neither grabbed me in the same way that Batman did.
I think they just didn't grab me. And obviously I like them both now. In fact, they're probably my 2 favourite Marvel things in terms of like just blanket properties, if you will, now. But
that's fair.
Because, I've read some comics, I've seen some, other things, I've played the video game recently of Spider-Man. Very good.
I'm fine.
So I appreciate a lot of things now, but yeah, I never get into that stuff as a kid. It was Turtles, Batman, and Power Rangers, and it's funny actually that the Turtles ended up because the Injustice video games, which are all DC characters, they added the Turtles specifically the 90s movie Turtles were DLC characters for Injustice 2, and I remember just looking at it going, this is like right out of my childhood, like combining Turtles and DC.
Throw in a Megazord and
yeah,
you've got everything.
I mean, not to mention that reading the Batman Turtles comic and when Power Rangers Justice League comic, like it's like, man, all my childhood things are kind of mixing here, and I don't know how, like, because you know what? Let's be honest here. If you're going to throw Turtles into one of the comic universes, yeah, put them in DC. I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
Why not? It kind of fits in a weird way. You could have this idea of like the Turtles in New York when everyone else is in Gotham and Metropolis and whatever, and then on top of that, I think you have this thing where, Shredder and Ra's al Ghul would be like,
Who does Kang
peers.
team up with?
Kang would team up with the Brain. The Brain and Mala. That's Kang's.
You're saying that on visuals alone.
That's just too easy, admittedly, but still. The
I love the drill.
Oh no, people are
the
tweeting about
underground
Black
drill.
Lightning. We're not watching it. I'm going to close that. Spoilers.
See, I told you not to be an unprofessional bastard because this is what happens.
Look, there was a good thread about where Superman hides his cape when he transforms. Right, I was glancing at it.
He has crevices.
Shoves it up his ass.
I was being polite about it.
That was a really bad attempt at Christopher Walken voice. I was going for
Was
Christopher
that
Walken.
what that was meant to be?
It was supposed to be Christopher Walken in Pulp Fiction when he's talking about shoving the watch up his dad shoving his watch up his ass.
That impression was so bad I did not realize.
I can't do Christopher
was-
Walken. I just can't. I know I can.
That's fine.
That's what I was going for. That's what I was going for.
Okay.
I wish I could do Christopher Walken. I feel like Christopher Walken's a very useful impression to be able to do, but
Yeah, it's useful in so many situations.
it is. Where were we?
Turtles. I love the drill. The drill ship, not ships, cars. What do you call them? The ones they go underground that they had later.
Oh, the tunneling.
Yeah.
Thingamajigs. But the Technodrome, of course, was the
Oh, of course.
the big thing there.
The pinnacle of evil layers.
April O'Neil, of course.
Yeah.
And
That's why this fits in DC Universe. Your female leads journalist.
exactly, yeah. April, Lois, and Iris all meeting up at the weekend to discuss tactics and
Yeah.
and writing
Coordinate for
techniques.
their cities.
Yes.
It's too easy.
It's too easy. Yeah. And yeah, that was a good thing about that Batman Turtles comic. I haven't read this. There was a second one that I've not read yet. I was just waiting for it to hit trade, and I've not gotten to it yet. I'll get to it at some point. I'm looking forward to it. But the first one was so cool because it did so many things that made sense. This idea that at first Batman and Raph really didn't trust each other, but ultimately they came down in respect. The idea of Splinter respecting Batman, and Batman respecting Splinter, and just all these things, like, just very, very good. But Splinter actually kind of getting one up in Batman in combat. He's actually that good. That
Okay.
he can
If there's anyone I'm going to allow it to, it's Splinter.
and then the idea that Ra's al Ghul does end up teaming up with Shredder and the Foot and the League kind of combine forces.
Do you know why that you can't use the Turtles in the Marvel Universe as effectively?
Why is that?
Because they've already got it all. The foot is the hand,
Sure.
and Shredder's kind of evil Wolverine to go with that side of things as well.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I was comparing them to the League of Assassins a little bit, but I think there's enough differences. And I think also they kind of feel. I mean, obviously, we have Beast Boy, but I feel like there's a void that's more to be filled in DC with animal humanoids, right?
Anthropomorphized animals, yeah.
Whereas in Marvel, you have Beast, you have a few of the X-Men kind of fall into that category.
Yeah, I'm with you.
There's some villains. We've got Grodd and we've got King Shark and that, but we don't have the heroes.
We don't hit the heroes as much. So I say Beast Boy is the notable one.
Yeah, but even he is human most of the time. He's not. He's
Yeah.
green, but he's
green, but he's human.
Yeah. Whereas this is no, we got 4 turtles, and I like the idea of them. I don't know, interacting with the various characters. This has turned into a fan tangent of turtles in the DC universe. How would it work?
This was inevitable, right? At
Yes.
some point that we just tangented.
Yeah.
So I really want to know what that cube robot thing was.
Oh god, you can't just search cube robot thing though. It's not going to work.
I know.
It's not going to work. Yeah, it is funny how we completely skipped over Spider-Man and X-Men as kids though.
It is. It's weird.
I think for you especially, I think it's because it wasn't on, regular TV as much. Because they were both on Fox Kids, if I remember right. But I'm speaking out my ass here, but
Yeah,
I think they were.
Oh, here we go. I found it.
Oh, is it?
It's called Cubics. It was a Korean show that then got dubbed over.
My, what a thing.
So if you want to see the QB robot that I was describing, Google Cubics with an X, and you'll see what I was trying to describe earlier. And it's a thing. It exists.
Here's a cartoon that I watched that I was actually too old for when I watched it, but I still just kind of liked it anyway, and that was
Go on.
Rugrats.
Yeah, I love Rugrats. Rugrats. In that range of things, I had Rugrats. I had Arthur.
I wasn't as big on Arthur.
Hey Arthur. Yeah.
I mean, I saw it, but it was always like, oh, if it's the only thing on, I'll watch it. But,
Oh really?
Yeah, I was never into it.
Okay.
I was never into it.
Yeah.
I it, yeah, I remember liking it. I remember playing the PS1 game for Rugrats. There was a couple, but the one I played was Search for Reptar, which was a pretty good game at the time. It's probably not held up very well, but
I'm actually just going to find out what that PS2 Scooby-Doo game was because it's going to bug me.
yes. Oh, Pinky and the Brain. We've not mentioned Pinky and the Brain.
Oh, of course. What are we going to do tonight?
Pinky, yeah. Oh, take over the world. What we do every night. Oh, that reminds me.
Here we go. It was called Night of 100 Frights was the Scooby-Doo game I played.
Oh, there you go. Hey, that just reminds me. There was the voice of Pinky and the Brain did dialogue from Breaking Bad. I'm sure that was a thing that happened on the internet, and it was the best thing ever. Or was it the other way around? Or was it Cranston and thingy Paul doing Pinky and the Brain
Pinky and
stuff?
the Brain intro.
I can't remember.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
It was one of the two. I don't know which way it was.
I can vaguely picture Cranston doing the other. What are we gonna do tonight?
Yeah, because there was definitely stuff with the voice actors from Pinky, because they've done a lot of funny little things like that though, where they've done little bits where they'll do dialogue. Because I saw a clip of them doing dialogue from Pulp Fiction, and they were avoiding dropping the F bombs because there was kids in the audience, but in the end they accidentally let one out. But they were doing the stuff from the start with Samuel L. Jackson, John Travolta, but they were doing it in Pinky and the Brain voices.
Yeah. I'm just gonna put the intro on at the side now and let that play.
Of course you are. Of course you are. People will be mad if you don't mention Animaniacs. You should probably mention Animaniacs.
Yeah, I was weirdly never as big on that.
Do you know, I liked it whenever I saw it, but I definitely didn't see it as much as I think people who love it saw it.
Yeah.
I think I liked it whenever I saw it, and I'm sure I'd probably appreciate it if I watched it now, but I didn't see a whole ton of it.
This is such a good opening theme.
Pinky and the Brain, Pinky and the Brain. One is a genius, the other's insane. Can't remember the rest of it. I know everyone wants to know, did I watch The Adventures of Pete and Pete? No, I did not. I never saw the show called The Adventures of Pete and Pete.
Ew.
Yes. I never watched the Aladdin TV show, which I'm just looking at this list. Never really saw that one.
No.
What can I say? Never watched Darkwing Duck. I kind of wish I did. Sounds like something I'd get into.
Yeah.
Also, they've got Dawson's Creek in this. I feel like that's not a kids show.
No, I wouldn't say it is.
That's sure, maybe a bit tweeny for a lot of adults, but it's definitely.
See, I'm googling some of the because I must have watched more of the British ones because I've got distinct memories. I'm like, what did I watch? And I've got here Bodger and Badger.
No.
Okay. Sooty.
Okay, Sooty and Sweep. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you Sooty and Sweep. Hand puppets.
Yeah, that was a big one. What else have we got here? There's a lot of the older ones that I kind of just saw, almost like the ones like almost like my mother would watch and would just be like, "Oh, yeah, watch this." Things, Grange Hill and Biker Grove.
Oh God, no.
No, not for you.
I mean, they were around at the time, but no, I wasn't interested.
What was the one? Bernard's Watch. Did you watch that one?
Never heard of it.
Bernard's Watch. It was a kid. He had like a stopwatch, and he clicked it, and he would stop time.
Okay.
So he had that one, and then it might have been called Queen's Nose. Kid rubbed a coin. It did like magic things.
You watched some right shite growing up.
These were things, I promise you.
This sounds like a lot of shite.
in my youngest bits, you had Brum. Yeah, your little yellow car.
No,
No, okay.
it's garbage. He's just listing garbage at this. These are all made up garbage.
Oh, okay. No. I've got a good one.
All right.
I've got a good one. Wallace and Gromit. Fight me.
I mean, I suppose it is a kids thing, but that feels a bit more timeless and just kind of neutral.
It does.
If that makes sense.
It does. But again, I will go on to the same. Aardman Studios went on and did Shaun the Sheep, which is past my time, but was at my youngest brother's level. So I've seen a lot of that as well, and it holds up against Wallace and Gromit.
I think when I was a kid and I watched Wallace and Gromit, the three I had on tape that existed was the one with the bit of the moon because it was made of cheese.
Because cheese, Gromit.
Cheese, Gromit, cracking cheese. Wrong trousers.
Mm.
What was the third one that they had at the time? That's going to bug the shit out of me.
No, I'm
a close shave. A close shave.
Okay, yeah.
There you go.
I'm just looking at this. I'm seeing things like Postman Pat, Fireman Sam, Thomas the Tank Engine, the younger stuff.
But I watched that stuff, but I don't remember. I was like 3.
See, I would agree with most of those, but Thomas the Tank Engine, for whatever reason, is so vivid compared to everything else that I watched at that age.
Nah, not really. They're all kind of.
And the only other thing in the super young thing that left an impact on me was Teletubbies, and not the whole show. The one specific episode that had like a lion come out of it, a lion that came and scared them, and for whatever reason, at the age I was at, terrified the shit out of me. And and I watched this again in uni because I mentioned this when I was in uni, when I was first year living with people, and we were going through this sort of stuff, and we mentioned that, and someone else went, "Yeah, that scared me too," and we put it on, and it's absolutely fucking demented, that episode. Like, it's just surreal.
Nah, Teletubbies was after my time. I was too old by the time Teletubbies started to be watching Teletubbies.
I don't even know when it started.
I was old enough that I was cracking dick jokes about Tinky Winky.
Okay, that's fair.
But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it started 97, so it would have been very early on.
Yeah.
For me.
I turned 8 in 97, so I mean I was old for Teletubbies.
Yeah. It would have been very early on in it, but there was a thing with a lion, and it screwed me up good when I was that young. And I watched it again, a while ago now, but when I was at uni, and it was surreal. And I stand by that being unsuitable for young children.
Nah, it should be more scary shit than stuff for young kids.
I agree, but that one left an impression.
Not enough evisceration in young children's television, quite frankly.
No, there's not.
My liking. Yes.
I'll give you that.
Dear. It's funny actually. It just to sort of broaden this topic out a little bit to like growing up away from all this stuff, and obviously, like we say, some things come back to later. So, Batman '96 is generally really good, so that's still worth watching. But a lot of what we watch as kids isn't, and I think there's a weird thing about growing up where you hit an age where all of a sudden you're actually kind of determined to separate yourself from the shit you liked as a kid because you want to feel more grown up and you want to feel away from it. And then there's a thing where you hit a certain age later, usually when you're about leaving high school maybe, or just before that.
And you're like, oh, I could go back to that.
Well, yeah, but it's more about like, oh, I don't care about being cool anymore. I just want to like what I like. And some stuff just never comes back because you just never care about to go back and check it. But, whereas I might have avoided watching certain things when I was like 14, by the time I was 17, 18, I was like, you know what, no, it's okay if I like some of this stupid shit. Give me it.
No, it's true.
You accept it and you bring it back. It's okay to just have fun with something goofy if that's what it is, right?
Sorry, it's just another show popped in my head, and it was something that I was like, oh, I watched that a lot. It was another British show, and it may be slightly deaf to you. It was started in '96. The Demon Headmaster.
Never watched it.
Right. Okay. So it was obviously the headmaster was a demon. I think he like hypnotized all the kids except the one new kid, right? She went to the school and everything was perfect, like like freakishly perfect for a kid's school. They would always like stand in line. There was no talking. The headmaster had them all hypnotized or something. It was adapted from these books. I remember reading the books as well, and I remember, how you were saying earlier, you there was that show that felt like it went on forever, but it only had like one season.
Mm-hmm.
I've just looked now. To me, this was on so much, and I remember it so vividly. And then I'm looking, there was only 19 episodes, and it felt like so much more in my memory.
Yeah, no, sounds about right.
It's weird.
It's the same when you think about Fawlty Towers. I remember thinking there was tons of that when I was a kid when I watched it. There's only 12 episodes. That's all there ever was.
This is the thing with a lot of British shows, especially. Their orders are for seasons are really short. Like this here, the first season is like 6 episodes, and that's not unusual for a British show.
But no, I mean, yeah, there's not a lot of British shows that kind of stuck with me, to be honest. Chucklevision's the big one. Nothing else really captured my imagination as a kid for whatever reason.
That's fair.
Just, I guess my my like for I don't know, sci-fi and action was just not quenched with most of those things.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna sneeze.
Bless you.
Oh, all right. Always in twos. Always happens.
Oh, here's that Queen's nose thing. Yeah, they rub the coin. It makes you give your grandchild a wish.
You watch some stupid weird shit. You know that?
I don't really. That one was. I'm less really on that one. I'm like, okay, I vaguely remember.
The last
that
15
one.
minutes of this show are you finding these weird, obscure things.
See, to me, they're not that obscure. Oh, here's Bernard's watch. Yeah, that was 95 to 2005. So it wasn't like it was a small thing, and it wasn't that obscure.
I've literally never heard of Bernard's watch.
Well, that's on you. I don't know what you want me to say.
I was on better channels watching better things. What can I say?
This was a CITV and regular ITV show. I think it started on ITV and moved to CITV.
Now, I taped a lot of stuff as a kid, and I'd watch it over and over because that's just what I did as a kid. I can't imagine growing up on Netflix and like streaming services and being able to just binge actual full seasons of things.
Yeah. Oh, here you go. Jungle Run. That was the one I was on about earlier.
Oh my god, I'm sick I'm sick of you finding things every 2 minutes. Shut up!
No. That's just the name of the one I was talking about earlier. And it's apparently it was a CITV thing, which is why it's telling me. Google has gone, hey, you wanted that one, here's others. But that's it, I'm done.
Good. But we're past that part of looking up lists of things.
I wasn't looking that one up. It was just there, and I was like, that was the one I couldn't remember the name for, so I was going to say it.
I forgot what point I was making now.
I don't know, I wasn't listening. You were talking about something growing up. Oh, you past that?
I was past that. It doesn't matter now. Jesus Christ, you just killed everything.
Yeah.
To give me a name for a show I didn't care about.
Yeah, but I cared. It was going to bother me. And the people, our fantastic patrons, may want to look these up and see what the hell we were watching.
No one cares about Jungle Run. Not a single person listens to this gives a shit about Jungle Run.
Probably not.
They're screaming at the screen saying, why have we not mentioned Hey Arnold or some shit like that? Or Recess.
Yeah, I didn't really care about either of those.
I saw the odd episode of both, but I wasn't really into either of them.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I don't know. I liked what I liked as a kid. It's funny because there was a time. I think by the age of like 10, I was kind of watching a lot of adult sitcoms. It kind of shifted.
Yeah.
Probably younger than I was supposed to, but it just kind of happened.
I think like I had that weird my transition went on a lot longer because I was watching what I wanted to watch with the adult sitcoms, but then it was okay. It's the younger brother's turn. They're watching the cartoon or whatever they had on.
Not have your own TV?
What's that?
Do you have your own TV?
No, I'm thinking like it would be a case of in the morning before school when we're having breakfast downstairs.
All right, yeah, but
and it was a case of okay, they're watching their show.
Do you know that's not something I ever did.
No,
I don't think with the exception of maybe towards the end of high school when I started caring enough to get up and like watch something like early in the morning before I go to school, just because I wanted to like make use of the time. But I never, as a kid, like got up and watched anything before school, like well during breakfast
It
or anything
wasn't
like that.
like a, oh, I get up because I want to watch this. It was a case of, okay, mother had decided this was the time we woke up for school. She went, right, here's your breakfast. Go sit down. We'd put the TV on while we ate breakfast, and that would be it for half an hour before we had to leave. That was
I
just every day. It wasn't like, oh, this is on. We're going to put this on. We'd be like, okay, what's on this morning? Okay, you put that on.
I never ate breakfast until I was like 18. So I mean,
I did the opposite. I was just given breakfast for till I was about 12 or 13.
it's the
And
weirdest
then after
thing.
that, I was like, I don't really want breakfast.
It's the weirdest thing. I never had an appetite in the morning. I never had breakfast. And then all of a sudden, about 18, 19, around that age, I started to crave food in the morning. And I thought, well, it's supposed to be a normal thing to have breakfast, so I'll start eating in the morning. And then I've just always been doing it ever since.
No,
But
I never eat in the morning now. And I wouldn't have said I had an appetite in the morning when I was younger. It was more a case of, someone went, here's a bowl of cereal, eat it. So I did. But it wasn't, oh, I really want food.
no, I never did as a kid. But for some reason, as an adult, I kind of developed an appetite in the morning. So, like, yeah, cool. And the wind's blowing things and banging against the wall outside.
I didn't hear it.
I got distracted. That's cool. It was not affecting the recording then, but it was that one was particularly loud and startling. So I'm mentioning it. If I seem jumpy,
There's someone coming to stab you.
yeah, basically that's what I'm getting at. I never had breakfast as a kid, but I never really my getting up for school was basically get up, have enough time for a shower, and then I'd be out the door about 5 minutes after that. There was no dilly dallying.
At that age, were you just getting dropped to school by your parents, or
Yeah,
were you?
I got the car to school. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it was, and because we were going to there was three of us. It was a case of we'd be woken up earlier than we needed to be.
Yeah. I mean, I was basically the car most of my schooling. There was, I think, gradually towards the end, there, in the last couple of years, like I'd take the bus some days if it was inconvenient to go by car.
Right. No, there was a hard cut off when I went to secondary school when I was 11. That was it. Right. Up till that point, it was drop to school. Occasionally, I'd walk back, or when I was older, it wasn't that far. And then I was 11. It was right off to school bus. I was on the school bus for a while, and then after a few years, I was like, nah, the school bus is too early. I'm taking the public bus. And then after that, I just decided to walk.
I was too far to walk. Otherwise, I probably would have done.
It was about a 30 to 40-minute walk for me.
No. I mean, it probably wasn't that much longer for me. Well, was it? No. Yeah, it would have been longer than that to walk.
It was maybe 4 miles to walk to school, but it was all right. Cut through the park. I had a nice walk. Woke me up in the morning, and then I'd walk home. And the real reason that I did it is because the mother would give me bus fare, and if I decided to walk, I got to keep the bus fare anyway. So it was like incentive to exercise. And then I obviously just spent all the bus money on Subway, all the chips.
I think that's how I get away with getting a lift for so long, is because it was just you're going to have to give me bus fare if I get the bus, so you might as well just...
Yeah, this was a case of my mother always worked nights. So when she got home from work, she didn't really want to be making the school run. When we were younger, she would take us to that school, but when I went to the new school, she was like, no, you can go. And obviously, she would still take my younger brothers to the younger school, but she didn't want to be making the separate trip out to the other one as well. After she'd done like a 12-hour shift overnight.
Yeah, my mother never worked when I was in school. She was a full-time carer for my father who had MS, so she was available basically to do it. So
screw your dad. You can get a lift.
It's just fine in bed for 20 minutes. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not like it either added a detractor to his lifespan. You know, just being on
Yeah.
his own for 20 minutes. It's fine.
Yeah. Would you?
Yeah.
I can just imagine a young you going, "Ah, screw Demo. I just give me a lift. It'll be fine."
I'll tell you, just if we're attached to childhood things, I used to, as soon as I was old enough that I was allowed to be like left in the house myself, I was a lot more because when I was really young, I used to hate going on day trips. Where mom and dad was like, "Oh, let's just drive up to just part of the coast or whatever to spend the
Yeah.
day," and I'd hate it. It was just spending like 2 hours in the car and then like
Mm.
and I've always been a bit of a nerd who liked watching and playing stuff. I've never been much of a
Outdoorsy.
yeah,
Yeah.
the beach, sand gets
You-
everywhere.
You've never been one to go. Everyone's going down to the field to play football.
Oh, never. No,
Yeah.
I have never in my life like, oh no, I'm going to go and join in the sports, so I'm good.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Never been me. And yeah, so I remember just like the first time I got to just be like, look, I'm fine. Just leave me here. Just go. I don't want to go.
Yeah. See, you're an only child, but you never had the experience of your parents being really overprotective at first, with you, right? Being like, and you're
Mm.
like, no, I'm fine, but they left it quite late, right? And then my next younger brother after me is like 3 years below me, and as soon as they were leaving me in the house on my own, like 6 months later, they were going, oh well, we might as well leave him in the house as well. It's like, well, it worked out fine. He'll manage. And I'm like, oh, God damn it, you get away with this shit so much younger compared, to where I am.
Yeah.
Okay, like getting my first mobile phone. It was like, no, you're not having it until you go to secondary school. When I had to get the bus to school, it's like, now you can have a mobile in case you need to phone us to get a lift for whatever reason. And 3 weeks later, my younger brother, here's a phone. What the hell?
Nah, no siblings, which meant I got a bit more spoiled because I was the only one to spend on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never. I mean, it was never much of a big deal. I mean, there was an overprotection to a point, but only. Even at an old age, even once I was reaching adult ages, my mother would like to know, like, just I don't care what you do, but just give me an idea of like if you're home or you're like. She just hated not knowing where I was, even when I got older, because it was like, it doesn't matter how old you are, you're still my son. I'm like, oh yeah, but
Yeah,
just
my
weird.
mother was a case of, oh, if you're going out, just drop me a text to say you're out,
Yeah.
and it's fine. I'll be asleep when you come home. It's fine. Just be quiet. And it's like she would. I remember one time I was like, oh, obviously, I was going to the pub before I should have been, and she was like, oh, sorry, I don't have any spare fake IDs that left over from family members you can borrow. Naturally being the oldest, she apologized and then kept my old passport to give to my younger brother,
Of course.
because obviously brothers, we look similar. It's just like so that he could have it.
So your job is to check the expiration date on some of these, isn't it? When they're
Yeah.
glancing at them.
Yeah, they don't care. The reality is, which pubs you can get served in and which you can't, so you just go to the right ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, having never really given a shit about alcohol, I never really faced this conundrum.
Yeah.
But hey, as you do. All right, we got a bit of a tangent into childhood life there.
I think we did, yeah.
Well, I mean, we kind of wrapped up the TV talk, so
A fair bit about TV.
so why not? why not
Yeah.
dip into other elements of childhood? I'll tell you this. When we were, I want to say, I'm going to admit to my parents doing something somewhat illegal here, but when we were, I want to say I was about 9 through 11 ish. We had like this, like a de-scrambler thing for the cable, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like the pay-per-view like channels, which would play a movie every 2 hours, right? That would just play anytime you wanted. You just turn the pay-per-view and it would be on all the time. And yeah, and
It's all right. I remember the day my cousin gave us a chipped Xbox.
I remember chip PS1's been a thing. I never
Yeah.
had one though.
No, I never had a PS1, but a chipped Xbox
No,
that I had.
nah.
That got
'Cause
abused.
yes, I imagine it did so. No, we had the descrambled on the cable box, and yeah, I was about 11 because it was right at the time when having the dirty channels
Was
unlocked was because this was before I had internet in the house, so this was like the gold mine.
Yeah.
This was the gold mine at the time, and then the internet happened, or well, it already happened, but like then I got the internet, and it was like, well,
Yeah, you got internet relatively late in your house, right? Because you never had the dial-up.
I never had dial-up, no, because my parents never give a shit about computers or internet. We got a computer in the house because one Christmas I said I want a damn computer because I need a computer.
Yeah, my father was an IT tech and consultant for a relatively major company.
I had friends like that whose dad worked in computers, so they always had like computers
So
in the house.
I grew up on well, let's say grew up, but very early, I had dial-up.
No, I got internet. I got a computer. I think it was Christmas after I turned 11 or 12. But I had the computer for about 4 or 5 months before we got internet for whatever reason. I don't know what the delay was, why it wasn't getting put in for another few months. I assume it was a cost thing, probably because they spent a fortune on a computer.
Yeah.
But so that was like a weird thing. But I remember I started off on broadband. I never experienced dial-up. It's still slow compared to now, but I mean
that dial-up tone is forever burned into my brain.
actually,
I can hear it right now.
if you're of our age, I recommend going to YouTube and just search for the MSN notification sound and listen to it. You'll be taken back in time.
Do you know what? I don't even need to hear it. Like you've said that, and it's just popped into my head, and it's there. Yeah. That defined maybe 4 years of my life.
That was high school. When I was in high school, that was how everyone talked at home. Was my MSN Messenger.
Yeah.
That was it. I talked to people in MSN I never talked to actually in school, but for some reason in MSN all of a sudden everyone's friends.
Yeah, basically, and you did that stupid status thing where you changed what you were put what song you were listening to.
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember that. Yes, I recall. This was before Skype was a thing. I'm guessing that's why MSN just went away, because they had Skype. I assume that's what
Microsoft bought it out and MSN died off.
Yeah, I assume that's what it was. Yeah, never used AOL's Messenger though. So people who are a bit older than us will talk about AOL being a big thing before we were into all that, but there it was. Yeah. There it was.
No, I remember I was never allowed to touch AOL because my father had, as he often called it, AOL. Clearly, they gave really shitty connections.
I'm pretty sure there's another joke, but it's always something.
Yeah, there's lots of do you know the car, the Lotus, the car brand?
Uh-huh.
They're all right now, but they used to be infamous for breaking down all the time. So the common slang for Lotus was lots of trouble, usually serious.
There was a joke one for NTSC when I was growing up, actually. I think it was called Never the Same Colour.
Right.
Because some people who were used to PAL like to make fun of NTSC to feel superior. I don't know, it was a weird thing. Tech people get weird when you start comparing things. I don't know. It's alright, let's wrap this up then. It was a cat scratch at the door. Fireflies wanting back in. I threw him out because he was being a pest, and now he's demanding to be back in.
Because cats are awful.
That's the thing. But that is, I guess that'll wrap up our monthly Patreon exclusive random chat of sorts. It went a bit tangenty towards the end, but that is us. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for being patrons. Next month, of course, it'll be 121 extra. We'll have a topic for that. Who knows what the topic will be, because I don't know yet. But
should mention, if you enjoy, especially the random back half of this and just crazy chats, we are launching a show talking about gaming news. More probably slightly more structured than this, more along the lines of the
It's
the
just a
TV
video
and
games
movies.
podcast. I don't think there's any point call it a gaming news show because there's no other thing. The reason why we call the movie and TV stuff the news shows is because
True.
we do all the talking about the actual movies and TV
It's true,
shows
but
elsewhere.
I wanted just to be clear that that's more along the lines of what it is rather than the review content that we do. And that's the first episode's launching soon this month, and for being patrons, you get it 3 days early. So there you go.
Okay.
And the cats are back.
Yeah, cat's back. I've got a hold of him. Nope. You will stay there until you have learned your lesson for being a pest, right? Until you learn your lesson for disrupting everything like a menace. Yes. All right, off you go. Don't scratch me. You
So
scratch me.
lesson learned. Is that it?
You scratch me. I'll scratch you.
Gonna wrap this up.
I'll wrap this up. Alright, so yeah, gaming podcast is starting 1080 bits, 3 days early on Patreon. It's coming this week actually, so you can look forward to that. But that is us. So yeah, by all means, let us know what you thought of the show and give us your suggestions for future topics. Because we have a small list to work through, but more ideas are always good. We will run out eventually. So, by all means, suggest things. But that is us. So, thank you once again for being patrons. We love you loads, and we'll see you guys next time. Oh, and I suppose it's an almost cancelled. So, and always remember. No, wait, I can't say that with this one. I don't say that with almost cancelled. Have you got any more vanilla?